Molly Qerim's sudden departure stunned fans, igniting endless speculation. Now, newly surfaced footage between her and Stephen A. Smith has emerged, revealing heated on-set exchanges that are changing the narrative.
Molly is a friend. Molly is a co-worker. Molly is somebody that I have leaned on many occasions in the past, as she has done when it comes to me. We've been partners on the show for the last 10 years. And a lot of times, some of these things happen, and it's just uncomfortable to see.
In the clip, Stephen appears to be trying to smooth things over, but the tension is clear, leaving viewers eager to know the full story. What really unfolded behind the cameras? This footage might finally provide some answers, exposing the real reason behind her shocking exit. The sports media world was thrown into turmoil on September 15, 2025, when Molly Qerim, longtime host of ESPN's flagship debate show First Take, abruptly resigned from the network. This wasn't a routine departure from a TV role. It was a seismic shift that sent shockwaves throughout the entire sports broadcasting industry. Fans, colleagues, and insiders alike scrambled to understand what could have prompted such a sudden and unexpected decision from one of the most recognizable faces in sports media. After nearly a decade leading First Take and almost 20 years with ESPN overall, Qerim made the stunning choice to walk away effective immediately. The timing was jarring, unexpected, and shrouded in mystery. There was no farewell segment, no gradual handoff, and no celebratory send-off typical for such a high-profile exit. Instead, viewers saw a clean, abrupt departure that left many wondering what had truly transpired behind closed doors at ESPN headquarters the morning after her resignation. Stephen A. Smith, Qerim's co-host and one of the most prominent figures in sports media, addressed the situation on his SiriusXM radio show. It was the conversation everyone wanted to hear, yet few had any real insight into. His comments that day became the subject of widespread discussion, dissected by fans and analysts for weeks to come. The emotion in Smith's tone was undeniable, raw, genuine, and deeply personal. This wasn't the loud, animated Stephen A. fans were used to seeing. It was a different side of him, one that was vulnerable, reflective, and clearly affected by the abrupt changes at ESPN. But as he continued speaking, his tone grew more cryptic, hinting at internal tension and unspoken truths. Those remarks would go on to fuel months of speculation and conspiracy theories about what had really driven Molly Qerim to step away from First Take so suddenly.
A lot of times, some of these things happen, and it's just uncomfortable to see. The details, quite frankly, are none of y'all business, but it's not as if I know all the details.
That statement alone sparked more confusion than clarity, creating an information gap that was quickly filled with rumors, speculation, and theories from every corner of sports media and social platforms. What exactly did Stephen A. Smith mean when he said the details were uncomfortable to see? What was he holding back? What information did he have that he wasn't disclosing to the public? And perhaps most importantly, why was he being so cautious about sharing something that could potentially shed light on one of the biggest stories in sports broadcasting? Smith did offer a few concrete points about what led to Qerim's departure, but even those details seemed to raise as many questions as they answered.
It was a contract negotiation that was going on. ESPN certainly did not want to lose her, but in the end, she made a decision to walk away from the show effective immediately. As you see from her Instagram post, her Instagram story.
Contract negotiations in television broadcasting are famously intricate and often tense. They don't just revolve around salary figures, but also involve issues like creative input, scheduling flexibility, added responsibilities, and long-term career direction. The fact that ESPN reportedly wanted to retain Qerim, yet she still chose to walk away, indicated a deeper breakdown in those talks, something significant enough to make her leave one of the most coveted roles in all of sports media. Qerim later confirmed her exit through an Instagram post, where she thanked ESPN, her fans, and her colleagues for their support. However, she notably avoided giving any specific reason for her decision. She called the move difficult but necessary, hinting briefly at new opportunities ahead while expressing appreciation for her time at the network. It was a polished, respectful, and deliberately neutral statement, the kind designed to say little while appearing thoughtful. In the days and weeks following her announcement, Various media outlets and insider sources began piecing together what might have actually led to her decision. According to Burke Magnus, ESPN's president of content, the resignation was described as a mutual decision that arose from a misalignment in contract negotiations, allowing Qerim what he diplomatically called a clean break to explore new opportunities beyond ESPN. While the official explanation appeared neat and professional, it didn't convince those who believed there was much more to the story than what ESPN had publicly shared. Former ESPN analyst Marcellus Wiley added fuel to the discussion with some of the most detailed and controversial speculation about what really unfolded during those failed contract negotiations. Speaking on his Hydration Situation podcast, Wiley described a complex environment of workplace politics, internal power struggles, and behind-the-scenes tension that went far beyond basic disagreements over salary or contract terms. According to Wiley's account, Molly Qerim had been pushing for a significant pay increase from her reported salary range of $500,000 to $800,000, possibly seeking parity with or even surpassing those figures to better reflect her value as the face of one of ESPN's premier shows. In addition to a raise, she was reportedly exploring expanded opportunities within the network, perhaps her own program or additional high-profile hosting roles that would highlight her range beyond serving as the moderator on First Take. But where Wiley's claims became especially striking was his suggestion that Stephen A. Smith held immense influence at ESPN enough that when he supported someone, things tended to go their way. In other words, Wiley implied that Smith's approval could make or break a career within the network. The implication was significant. If Smith had supported Qerim's requests, she likely would have received them. However, according to Wiley, Smith did not advocate for his longtime co-host during these crucial discussions. This lack of backing reportedly contributed to Qerim's frustration and played a major role in her decision to leave ESPN altogether. Wiley also pointed out that Qerim's farewell message made no mention of Stephen A. Smith, interpreting that omission as a clear sign of professional strain. As he put it, they weren't cool with each other because if you've worked alongside someone for 10 years and don't even mention them when you leave, that says everything. This observation struck a chord with many who followed the situation closely. It seemed difficult to believe that someone could spend a decade working side by side with a colleague and then completely exclude them from a farewell message unless there was lingering tension or resentment. Wiley further noted the broader issue of unequal pay within ESPN's ranks. He highlighted that other personalities, such as Mina Kimes, reportedly earned more than Qerim despite holding less central or visible roles. This raised uncomfortable questions about how ESPN values its on-air talent and whether factors beyond ratings and performance might be influencing those compensation decisions. The situation grew even more complex when new reports emerged suggesting that Molly Qerim's working relationship with Stephen A. Smith had significantly deteriorated in the months leading up to her exit. One particularly troubling claim alleged that one of Smith's superiors at ESPN had never been a fan of Qerim's on-air presence. If true, this would imply that Qerim was facing resistance from multiple influential figures within the network, making her role increasingly difficult regardless of her performance or contributions to First Take's success. Former ESPN host and commentator Emmanuel Acho, speaking on the Speakeasy podcast alongside hosts Kieran Hickey Simple and Leon McCoy, offered his own critique of how Stephen A. Smith handled the situation. The panel accused Smith of worsening the controversy by sharing selective details about Qerim's sudden departure and the contract issues, while at the same time claiming ignorance about other aspects and calling for privacy. They described his remarks as inconsistent and unnecessarily theatrical, arguing that they only deepened public speculation instead of providing clarity or allowing Qerim to shape her own story as she transitioned into the next phase of her career. However, Smith didn't stop there. In what many perceived as a general commentary on the media business, but which seemed at least partly aimed at his former co-host, Smith delivered a lengthy reflection on leverage, value, and self-awareness within the sports media landscape. The segment became one of the most dissected and discussed monologues of his career. His underlying message appeared straightforward. Success in sports media depends not only on skill and effort, but also on persistence and perhaps most critically on understanding one's true market value and negotiating position. But Smith wasn't finished. What followed was increasingly direct commentary on contract negotiations, leverage, and the realities of working in television. During his extended remarks, Smith repeatedly emphasized that his comments were not about Molly Qerim, a disclaimer that convinced virtually no one. In fact, his remarks only reinforced the perception that he was referring, at least in part, to Qerim and the situation surrounding her sudden exit from First Take and ESPN. One particular statement caught the attention of many observers who viewed it as especially revealing about how Smith perceived Qerim's position during those tense contract discussions. The underlying message seemed clear. While Qerim may have believed she deserved a higher salary or expanded opportunities within the network, she simply didn't have the leverage, whether in ratings influence, revenue impact, or alternative offers, to successfully negotiate those demands with ESPN's management. To grasp the full weight and surprise of Molly Qerim's departure, it's important to understand the unique on-air partnership she built with Stephen A. Smith over their decade-long run together. Their complex professional history and undeniable chemistry were key to what made First Take such a staple of sports television. Qerim became the show's permanent host in September 2015. Stepping into a role that required her to moderate high-energy debates between outspoken personalities while contributing her own perspectives and analysis on major sports stories. By that time, Smith, who had been First Take's central figure since 2012, was already one of the most recognizable and polarizing voices in sports media from the start. Their on-air relationship displayed a natural rhythm and mutual respect. Their exchanges felt authentic and spontaneous rather than overly rehearsed, which played a major role in the show's success. Over the years, Smith often expressed admiration for Qerim, publicly describing her as both a valued colleague and a friend. He often credited her for playing an essential part in taking First Take to new levels of popularity and cultural impact. The chemistry between Stephen A. Smith and Molly Qerim was evident to anyone who tuned in regularly. Their interactions were filled with energy, humor, and a light sense of rivalry that kept the audience both engaged and entertained. One especially memorable moment that perfectly captured their dynamic came when Qerim challenged Smith's opinion of her athletic ability, a segment that quickly went viral across social media. The exchange grew increasingly humorous and competitive as Qerim, clearly unimpressed with Smith's doubts about her skills and determination, directly questioned his own physical toughness in return. The moment showcased everything that made their partnership work: spontaneity, humor, and a genuine sense of familiarity built over years of collaboration. Another standout example of their on-air chemistry came during one of their recurring basketball debates, where Qerim proved she could easily hold her own against one of the most outspoken voices in the sport. During a discussion about the Boston Celtics and their championship chances, Qerim revealed that she had been sending text messages to Smith during games, confidently predicting results and teasing him whenever her predictions turned out to be right. Smith recounted the exchange on air, saying, "I'm just looking right here, Kendrick Perkins and Jay Williams. I'm trying to find this text from Molly. Just a few days ago, she was going off on me during the game. She said, the Celtics are winning this, and you know it. Party's over." Moments like these captured the humor, competitiveness, and camaraderie that defined their partnership and helped make First Take one of ESPN's most talked about shows. This is what she said the night of June 8th. Smith proceeded to read aloud from Qerim's text messages, highlighting just how confident, even bold, she had become in her basketball predictions and her willingness to call out her famous co-host when she felt he was wrong. Qerim's reaction to having her private messages shared on national television was quick-witted and self-aware. While she stood by her assessment of Smith's analysis, these moments of playful conflict and competitive banter were not one-off incidents. They reflected the broader dynamic that made First Take compelling to viewers. Smith frequently described their relationship as familial, comparing it to a brother-sister dynamic. They could tease, challenge, and occasionally frustrate each other, all while maintaining mutual respect and professional admiration. Yet, even as their on-air partnership appeared strong and their chemistry undeniable, subtle signs over the years suggested that not everything behind the scenes was entirely harmonious. Certain on-air moments, initially seen as lighthearted banter, have been reinterpreted in retrospect as potential indicators of real tension, especially in light of Qerim's sudden departure. One notable example came in June 2025, just months before her resignation when Qerim interrupted Smith to prevent him from sharing what appeared to be private messages on air. At the time, it seemed like a routine effort to manage the show and maintain boundaries. But looking back, some observers see it as a possible sign of growing discomfort with Smith blurring the line between professional and personal interactions in a public setting. Former ESPN analyst Marcellus Wiley, however, suggested on his podcast that the closeness and strength of Smith and Qerim's working relationship may not have been as solid as it appeared in recent months, or perhaps even years. He specifically pointed to Qerim's noticeable omission of Smith from her farewell Instagram post as a revealing sign of underlying tensions that had been carefully concealed from public view. Throughout their time together, the question of whether there were romantic feelings or a deeper personal connection between Stephen A. Smith and Molly Qerim beyond their professional partnership has fueled persistent speculation almost since Qerim joined First Take in 2015. These rumors intensified following Qerim's divorce from former NBA player Jalen Rose in 2021, with gossip blogs and social media quickly questioning whether her on-air chemistry with Smith might have evolved into something more than professional. The rumors gained further attention in late 2021 when former NBA player Kwame Brown, who had been involved in a highly public and personal feud with Smith, directly accused him of having an affair with Qerim while she was still married to Rose. Brown's claims, made during a video rant that went viral on social media, alleged that Smith had cheated on his partner with Qerim and framed it as insider knowledge circulating within NBA circles. Both Smith and Qerim have consistently and emphatically denied any romantic involvement. Smith repeatedly stressed that their relationship was strictly professional and platonic. In April 2024, the co-hosts addressed the persistent rumors directly during a First Take episode after guest Chris "Mad Dog" Russo jokingly commented that their matching outfits resembled wedding attire. Smith used the moment to call the rumors outright lies and express frustration with the ongoing speculation surrounding their professional relationship. Jalen Rose has also publicly dismissed the affair claims on multiple occasions. Most notably, in a 2020 GQ interview, he described the speculation as laughable, noting that he, Qerim, and Smith had privately laughed off the accusations. Rose emphasized that his divorce from Qerim was entirely due to the challenges of managing demanding careers in sports media, not because of any inappropriate relationship with Smith. Despite these clarifications, the rumors resurfaced and even intensified following Qerim's abrupt resignation in September 2025. Social media users speculated that a hidden romantic relationship that ended badly could explain both the sudden departure and the apparent cooling of her relationship with Smith. Some suggested that if a romantic connection had existed and subsequently soured, it may have created an awkward working environment, making it difficult for the two to continue collaborating professionally. Adding yet another layer of complexity, the timing and circumstances of Qerim's exit have only deepened curiosity about what truly transpired behind the scenes. In January 2025, a woman named Nikita Pearson came forward, claiming to be Stephen A. Smith's girlfriend and accused Molly Qerim of spreading false sexual assault. Rumors about Smith Pearson also alleged in a YouTube video, which has not been verified or corroborated by any credible sources, that Qerim had been pursuing Smith romantically. Neither Smith nor Qerim have addressed these claims publicly, and they remain entirely unsubstantiated, falling within the realm of gossip and speculation. Despite ongoing rumors, there is no concrete evidence supporting any romantic relationship between Smith and Qerim, past or present. What is clear, however, is that they maintained a unique and productive professional partnership that played a central role in making First Take one of the most successful and influential sports television programs of the past decade. Both Smith and Qerim have generally kept their personal lives private, though some information has emerged through interviews and public statements. Smith, born in 1967, has confirmed that he has 2 daughters and has never been married, remaining notably discreet about his personal relationships. Qerim, born in 1984, was publicly married to Jalen Rose from 2018 until their divorce was finalized in 2021. She has been open about her personal health challenges, particularly her battle with severe endometriosis, which she discussed on First Take in 2024, to raise awareness about a condition that affects millions of women. but is often underdiagnosed. Looking at the aftermath and future implications for her career. As of October 1st, 2025, Qerim made her first public appearance since leaving ESPN, signaling that she has no plans to step away from sports media despite the circumstances surrounding her departure. She hosted a Q&A session with Yale men's basketball head coach Dan Hurley at the University of Connecticut Student Union Theater. The event promoted Hurley's new book, Never Stop: Life, Leadership, and What It Takes to Be Great. Co-authored with sports writer Ian O'Connor, unconfirmed reports suggest that Qerim is in discussions with Fox Sports, potentially covering NFL games, college football, and high-profile NCAA basketball events. She may also take on hosting duties across Fox's various sports programs. This move would expand her role beyond the debate show format that made her widely known, allowing her to demonstrate her broader broadcasting abilities and reach new audiences. Beyond First Take's viewership, some reports have described ESPN's handling of Molly Qerim's contract negotiations as dismissive or disrespectful, suggesting that the network's approach played a significant role in her decision to leave what many in the industry consider one of the most prestigious hosting positions in sports television. The sharpness of these assessments, combined with Stephen A. Smith's repeated insistence that he was not referring to Qerim in his commentary, led many to conclude that he was, in fact, offering insight into what went wrong during her contract discussions and why she ultimately lacked the leverage to secure the terms she sought from ESPN management. The manner of Qerim's exit, along with her deliberately vague public statement that avoided mentioning Smith by name, strongly indicates there is more to the story than what has been disclosed publicly. Former colleagues and industry insiders have cited these omissions and the abrupt nature of her departure as evidence of behind-the-scenes tensions that went beyond mere contract disagreements. Speculation about her motivations has been wide-ranging. Some suggest she may have wanted Smith to advocate more strongly on her behalf during negotiations, while others theorize she felt resentment over the substantial contract extension Smith himself received. Observers have also questioned whether the disparity in their compensation reflected an undervaluing of Qerim's decade-long contributions to First Take. Adding another layer of intrigue, Qerim revealed in her departure statement that someone at ESPN leaked news of her exit before she was ready to announce it publicly. This premature disclosure heightened her frustration and contributed to what was already a difficult and messy separation, suggesting professional tensions extending beyond Smith to include ESPN management and other personnel. Social media reactions have been extensive and revealing. On Reddit, a thread in the Amba subreddit discussing her departure garnered over 2,000 upvotes and 673 comments, with users speculating about possible romantic entanglements, workplace tensions, or simple contract disputes as explanations for her sudden exit. One widely upvoted comment read, "Stephen Smith for all these years. She deserves better," reflecting a perception that Qerim may have endured challenging working conditions alongside one of sports media's most dominant personalities. On X, formerly Twitter, reactions ranged from expressions of disappointment over the end of the Smith-Qerim partnership to speculation about what occurred behind closed doors at ESPN. One user pointed out the timing of Smith mentioning he had a girlfriend shortly after Qerim's departure, suggesting a possible connection to long-standing rumors about their relationship. Others expressed curiosity about private discussions or confrontations between Smith and Qerim, illustrating public fascination with the personal and professional dynamics that led to the end of one of sports television's most successful duos. Looking ahead, the resolution of this situation could have meaningful implications not only for Qerim and Smith individually, but for the broader sports media industry and how networks conduct talent negotiations. If Qerim secures a lucrative deal with Fox Sports or another major platform, it would validate her decision to leave ESPN and potentially encourage other personalities to assert themselves when undervalued. Conversely, if she struggles to find opportunities matching or exceeding her ESPN role, it could reinforce Smith's commentary on the importance of leverage and understanding one's market value before making bold career moves.